You're listening to Biz-Souls, the business podcast with an edge, hosted by me, Rona Lewis, and Jeffrey Hansler. Tune in for perspectives and discoveries about the changing world of business. It's time to connect to the heart, soul, and humor of how business gets done. Hello all, and welcome to another fabulous edition of Biz-Souls. I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler, and we get to the heart and soul of business and the people that make it happen.
Yes, and I'm very excited because we have my friend, nepotism is alive and well and living on Biz-Souls, my friend Margie Fisher, who I have known for more years than I have fingers and toes. No, it's not that long, but it has been quite a while. Yeah, we've been friends for a long time. Margie just came out with a book, and I'm going to introduce her and then tell the story of how we met. So this is her, if I can put these on, her official bio. Margie Zable Fisher is the co-author, along with her late mother, of The Cabernet Club, published on January 31st, 2025, which I read and I absolutely adored. Completing and publishing the novel fulfilled a promise Margie made to her mother right before she passed away. Before becoming a full-time writer and author after age 50, Margie owned a PR agency for, how many years is it? For 20 years. Her articles have been published in the New York Times, AARP, Fortune, Next Avenue, and more. Margie is a wife and mother, loves Cabernet, who doesn't, and the pool, and competed in her first triathlon after age 50. You go, girl. She plays pickleball several times a week and considers it a good day if she achieves genius status playing the New York Times Spelling Bee. She and her family live in Florida, which is how we met. I have a lot of stories, but the two that come to mind is when we first met, I was working for the South Florida Business Journal in sales. I think I had just started, and we visited her. You were a buyer at Verizon, right? Mm-hmm. At the time. And so Gary Press was the publisher, and she was running a little bit late in a meeting. And so Gary and I were sitting in the lobby. We got a little bored, and we wrote a little song. I think they called the wind Mariah because it rhymed with Verizon. And that was how I met Margie. We sang a song to her. And we fell in love after that, and that was that.
Very true.
Yes, and the other story is my ex-husband and I were members of a tennis and golf club, or we looking to join, and Margie and I walk in, and we played, or we had just joined, something like that, and we went in for lunch, and this older woman, or at the time she was older, she may have been our age by then, I don't even know, but she comes in, she looks at me, and she goes, "Are you allowed to be here?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, we just joined. Oh, I thought you were somebody's daughter. Well, I am. She just happens not to. I'm Barbara's daughter. She happens not to be here.
South Florida, good old South Florida, yes.
So that's how we met, and I actually was very good friends with her husband for a long time, and you accused me of spending more time with your husband than you did.
Well, it happens a lot with people. Yeah. He's much nicer than I am. I don't blame you. Really.
Oh, no. We just we were in Toastmasters together. He and I played took tennis lessons together. It was fun. Yep. Mm-hmm. But I adore you both. Anyway, enough about that. So we are here to talk
enough?
about enough. No, I just thought they were good stories.
They were good stories. I was enjoying them.
So we are here to talk about your new book. And first, Jeffrey gets to ask the first question.
So this is actually not about the book writing, although maybe it could be. It's about the PR business. So what did you want to be when you grew up? And was it tied to writing, PR, or do you want to be a doctor, a lawyer?
God, no, that's right up there in things I never wanted to be.
Right.
Never wanted to be a writer because I was expected to be. So of course I wanted to do whatever the opposite of that was, which in my case was a business owner, which was the opposite of what I knew. What I did know was that I didn't want to have the same experience as my mother. My mother was single and divorced a long time ago when it wasn't common, and she was always working. We had actually moved to Atlanta when I was young from the Northeast, And I remembered she worked long hours as a secretary, and her boss always had her coming in on Saturdays to help him. And most of the time, since I was young, I had to go with her. So I think that had a pretty big impact on me because I just wanted to be in charge of my own life and my own schedule and my own finances. So I knew I wanted to be a business owner, but I didn't know anything beyond that.
So who wanted you to be a writer?
Well, my mother was always a writer. I mean, she was a secretary, but she always was a freelance writer on the side. And she actually wrote novels as well later in her career. And my father, who wasn't really in the picture, but he worked in publishing as well. So, and I was a pretty good writer. So people kind of expected me to do that. So again, I rebelled and ended up studying finance in college.
Hey, that's
and,
good.
and look where that got you.
You know, I did learn a few things. It was pretty helpful.
Yeah. And there you go. So you got out, and then how'd you get into PR?
Well, of course, I studied finance in college, but that really wasn't what I wanted to do. I mean, I got my degree, but not really that interested. So I actually got a sales job with AT&T as my first job, which was really great because they actually had a training program. And, you know, not that I wanted to be a salesperson my whole life, I didn't think, but it's a great skill to have, right? So I paid off pretty much all my student loans really quickly, saved a chunk of money early on for my retirement, and then I was able to transfer into marketing at AT&T, and then I moved on to marketing and PR at Verizon Wireless. So, and I moved around, like I moved to New Jersey, I moved to Florida, and then Verizon wanted me to move to Atlanta. And my husband and I didn't want to move anymore. We wanted to stay in Boca Raton. So I said, well, let me just finally quit the corporate world and just do PR, because PR was the part of marketing I really enjoyed. So I just started the business.
So going back real quick then, how did you go? So you graduate finance and then you take a sales job. What was the thought process there? It was like,
well, you know, like my mother said at the time, once you have a job at AT&T, you have a job for life, which was not true, but at the time it seemed.
But it sounded good.
It sounded good, and that was my mom's mentality, right? Because for her, you know, security was really,
That's
really
that whole
important.
generation, yeah.
That's that generation, and I wanted to be a business owner, but I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. So even I knew I had to start somewhere and get a regular job.
Right.
But, you know, none of the financial positions appealed to me. So I just basically applied to any business related job, which was entry level. And they started this new division at AT&T, and I happened to be there at the right time. So I got that sales job.
Nice.
cool.
Timing is everything. Yeah, and they allowed you to change over, just like what happened to you when you were in the finance department for a day and a half and moved over.
Yeah. I started off in the accounting department at Apple's sales office in Southern California. Lasted one day because I transposed numbers on a regular basis. And we were on a manual
Whoops.
system. Whoops.
Okay, that could be a record, but okay, that's good. That's great.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, and then PR. So with sales experience, you can get some clients in. Did you walk away with clients or did you start it from scratch?
I had no clue. I started from scratch. I mean, you know, luckily, so I was married. My husband was a teacher at the time. So,
Oh, a
not
high-paying job.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, you know, we weren't exactly wealthy,
Yeah.
but I had saved some money. I was pretty good at, and we didn't have, you know, a child at the time. So we didn't have huge expenses. And, you know, I was still pretty young. I was a hustler. You know, I really wanted to figure things out, and I really worked hard to get up to speed quickly. So yeah, I just built up the business from scratch, and it worked out.
So you've got the skills. You've got writing skills. You've got sales skills, and you've got finance skills. I mean, that's a great
You're
foundation.
the perfect human being.
It's a great foundation for a business, starting a
I didn't
business.
realize it.
Yeah.
It's funny, so funny, because I always used to differentiate myself by saying, I'm the only PR person who is okay with you talking about return on investment, right? Because that's really what business people, business owners and corporate people wanted to know, you know, what's my return on investment in PR, which is extremely difficult to figure out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? But at least I was willing to have the conversation and say, okay, I know what you're talking about. Let's see how we can find a way to make this financially viable for you. So I could talk the language, which was helpful.
Right.
And we do want to talk about the book. Rona's got a bunch of questions on that. Just one more questions on the PR. Did you focus on a specific target? Were you in general? Did you focus on big companies, small companies?
Well, at first I did everything, right? Whatever I could to get business. And at first it was a lot of local companies. I joined my local chamber of commerce. I did all the networking stuff and, the groups and the sales groups and that kind of thing. So I did that. And I found that I really enjoyed doing product PR. So I started focusing on gift guides, which again, they're not so prevalent today, but in the heyday where there were tons of magazines, every November and December, they would have these holiday gift guides, which would be pages and pages, like in O Magazine or, Glamour, those kind of things. It would have pages and pages of gift ideas. So the goal was to help my clients get in those because they were guaranteed to do blockbuster sales.
Sure.
So I focused on that probably for the last 7 or 8 years of my business. And then by the time I wound down, most of those magazines were out of business. And I knew I didn't really want to shift to managing social media, which is, I think, how a lot of PR businesses have transitioned. But it's so much harder now to get placements now that businesses are able to reach out directly to media outlets, whatever's left of them, right? Online or whatever. And those same editors could be freelancers. You never knew who to pitch to. It's really changed. And it was just time for me to do something else, in as well as the industry changing. So I moved to writing full time.
Last question, I promise.
Sure, no.
So on the getting them into gift guides, I know it's a dead business in many cases. What were the services you gave them for PR to get them into it? Were you sending press releases on them? Were you writing content? Were you calling, doing sales, doing
Samples, giving them free samples?
How did you get your clients into those books?
Samples were non-negotiable. You had to send in samples. Early on, again, in the heyday, I would take a trip to New York and I would schedule what they call desk sides. So I would sit at a desk of an editor and maybe bring 5 different products from 5 different clients and say, this is great, this is great, this is great. That's how I got probably my best placement, which was in Oprah magazine for a watch company. And, that's face to face, but a lot of what you do is you send samples, email, follow up. Phones started going downhill probably 20 years ago. So a lot of it was email and follow up. And then, hopefully you started developing relationships with editors and they knew I wasn't going to waste their time. If I sent them something for Glamour, it would be something that might be different than something for Good Housekeeping, right? Because the target reader was different.
Sure.
So I wouldn't waste their time and I'd send pretty good things. So had good luck with that. And of course, I use my writing skills to pitch. So you send a pitch. Press releases we did in the day, way back in the day. But usually you'd write a very specific pitch for their target market and why they'd want to have that in the gift guide. So that was the process.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sure.
So when did you talk to, by the way,
Yeah.
3 guesses what Margie's mother's name is?
Rona?
Yes.
It's so wild.
I know. How many Ronas do you know? Right?
2 now.
That's right. There you go.
So rare.
I know.
When she told me, when I met her, I was like, wow, that is just wild.
Yeah. So
Wait, Mary Tyler Moore.
that's Rhoda.
Rhoda. Okay. Rhoda. Okay. Never mind. Go. Sorry.
Anyway, that's okay. Just one of those Jewish names. Anyway, so when did Rona start working on the Cabernet Club?
That's a great question. Over 20 years ago.
Wow. And so she was busy? Why did it take so long?
Well, that's when she officially retired from her last position, which was editor of a monthly senior citizen newsletter.
Okay.
Okay. So she had written, I would say in the 80s and 90s, she had actually written 4 novels that were published by major New York City publishers, but
Very
they
cool.
were young adult.
Gotcha.
Okay. Young adult and middle grade.
Okay.
So again, in the day, they were very well received, and they were clean and fun and funny, very different than what you'll see on the shelves today.
Mm-hmm.
But she had some success with that. And that was basically when I was in college and then beyond. So she had done all kinds of writing, but this novel was her first novel for adults. And she started writing it after she retired from a full-time job. And it started very different than what it ended up being. It was actually, she was still living in Massachusetts at the time she started. And it was kind of depressing. I remember reading, and I still have some of the chapters because she kept the papers and so did I.
Yeah.
It's called Prozac Winter.
Oh, right there. Happy. Yay.
That makes you just jump up and down.
What a party. Yeah.
Some people, I don't know. I didn't think it was particularly uplifting.
Especially in the Boston area where, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute.
That's right.
Exactly. I mean, it's a gray day, take a Prozac, it's winter, no, so I don't know.
And a bottle of vodka. Perfect.
Yeah, it was a little true to life, and I'm like, it didn't get too far. And okay, so then a few years after that, she moved to Florida. We had already moved here. So she had joined a writers group in the library, and they met every week. And I guess she decided to switch the locale to South Florida, to a place that was somewhat similar to where she lived, in a budget condo community down here.
Mm-hmm.
And it became funny, and the storyline totally changed.
We're not talking. You're not talking about The Village, are you?
No.
No. Okay.
And I don't want to say the name of the place because.
Right. Okay. Got it.
I don't want to get sued, but in the book it's called Palmetto Point. But anyway, so she had moved down and started writing, and had been writing over the years, and I had kept up with it. I mean, a lot of times we edited each other's stuff a lot.
Nice.
So she would edit, when I wrote a story for AARP, she would be my editor, and she was phenomenal. And I would sometimes edit her stuff because we had a similar writing style, kind of like sort of an easy to read, helpful self-help thing. I wrote nonfiction, she wrote fiction, but we still kind of had the same style.
Right.
So we worked together a lot on that. But ultimately, she was still working on it. And at one point in the last couple of years, I tried sending it out to agents and publishers, and I didn't, because she wasn't really that techie. So I did it for her, and we didn't really get any joy, really. So nothing was happening. And she was like, forget it. She was in her 80s. She was tired. She's like, oh God, enough of this. Just put it aside and whatever. And then things changed a couple of years ago. If you want me to explain how this all came about, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll take that as a yes.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, right around Christmas Day, she fell in her house, and it was very unusual because like the day before, she had been doing pool exercises. She was still very active. She lived by herself and whatever. It was very strange. She was in a lot of pain. We didn't understand what was going on. To make a long story short, we found out in the next month that she had pancreatic cancer, and that it was everywhere.
Yeah. What a way to find out.
Yeah. And the way I found out was a horrifying story, which I won't tell you about today, but it was bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, so literally she was home with us in hospice for 5 days before she passed away. But before that happened, right after she was diagnosed, I said, Mom, I really want to publish your book. And she's like, please, she was sick and she was tired. And she's like, please don't worry about it, whatever. And I said, no, I really, it's a gift to the world. I know it's a gift to the world. I just need to work on it a little or something. I knew something had to be worked on, but whatever. And she's like, well, don't bother self-publishing it. Because, she still had a little bit of an ego, even though we had talked about this. I actually went back to her old agent when she was a young adult author, and that they don't do any adult, they only do children's. And she was no help and not interested. I said, the publishing world has changed in the last 35 years. It's really hard now. Not that it wasn't hard then, but it's even more hard now.
It is.
Because people can read the internet and whatever. So she's like, just don't bother publishing it if you're going to self-publish it, because it's just not worth it. I don't want that. So I said, okay, I'm going to get it published with a real publisher somehow. I'll figure it out. Okay, whatever. So that was basically the promise I made to her on her deathbed. And honestly, it was just sort of a random thought. I wanted to do something to make her feel better, to make me feel better, to feel like there was something I could honor her with. But after she passed away, I was grieving and I did not want to do any of my regular writing. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to throw myself into getting this book published, because that felt like something I could do as well while I was grieving her.
Sure.
Okay. Because I didn't want to do other stuff. So I had the whole document, I had the full document. I had all the individual chapters in Google Docs. And then she had a huge, like this big pile. She loved to print out individual chapters. So she had this huge pile that I found of all different individual chapters with notes that I hadn't seen before. So I went through all that and I realized I've never written fiction before. So I've read a lot of fiction and I thought I understood how to write fiction, but I knew something was missing, but I didn't know what it was. And what that means to me is I need to research now, because I like to research exactly how to write a novel. So I started listening to podcasts, of which there are some nice ones, researching online. And I was getting the information. It still wasn't telling me exactly what I had to do. So I actually hired something called a developmental editor for my book. I'm not sure if that's something you're familiar with, but
No, I don't know what that is.
yeah, a lot of people don't realize this. So most people think there's only one kind of editor for a book, and that would be someone who would look at your grammar and fix your spelling errors and that kind of thing. Well, that's basically a copy editor. But a developmental editor is someone who will look at your book, usually a novel, and will say, this doesn't have enough conflict. The storyline here, the timeline doesn't make sense. Or you're telling, not showing, which is, I'm trying to think of like the main things that are issues with writing. And then, do you have a ticking clock? Like, what's the time frame? There were some big issues here that were problematic. And what they don't do is write it for you and tell you exactly how to fix it, sadly. Sure. So she would just say, overall, you need to fix these 3 pages worth of things that I'm going to tell you about. And then each chapter she would go, this is cute. This, no, you need to do, beef up the conflict, or, end it so that people want to turn the page or something. So basically I had this.
There was a lot of red marks on it.
A lot of red marks. And I was like, what the heck have I gotten myself into?
Right.
So it was basically like, like a master's in fine arts program in a box, really, wow. Which is what people do over 2 years to learn how to do this stuff. But basically it was like, this is it. This is the stuff you need to do, figure it out and get it done. So I spent 3 months doing that. I got it together and then I started sending it out again to agents and publishers for a year.
Wow.
Did not have any success. And then just randomly, again, I don't know how this happened. I still don't know. I heard about this small press called Sibylline Press. And what I loved about it was started by 4 women who were veterans of the publishing world. They were all over 50, some of them probably well over 50. And they only published books, all kinds of books, by women over 50.
I may have to contact them for my books.
Right. So, I mean, I was over 50. My mom was over 50. Yeah. And all the stuff I write about is for people over 50. Right. And it just so happens that in my nonfiction life, I'm all about over 50 empowerment. I have a Facebook group about it.
I'm in it. Yes, I know.
Exactly. So, I'm like, wow. This must be meant to be. So I found them, still don't know how. And I think my mother must have guided me.
I was going to say, the universe had it. And
it had, and anything good nowadays, since my mom passed, I give it to my mom because I figure, she has extra powers wherever she is. So hopefully she's sending them my way.
So
So
I want to get to the publish. Sorry, where we only do like half hour thing. So they
Tell me
read
what you-
it, they loved it, they published it,
yes.
and so tell me what you're doing. And you sent me a copy, and I read it in like 2 days because it was so much fun. Which, by the way, you have a great sense of humor. We would have never been friends if you didn't have a sense of
That's right.
humor. You
That
know,
is- yes.
you and your husband and stuff like that. So it was very clever. It's very funny, and very true to life. Because I'm reading
Yes.
this, going, "Oh man, this happens to me." You know. So tell me about how you're getting it out there with your PR and marketing background, and what's the reaction been?
Yeah, and that's the funny part. Someone asked me recently, they're like, how do you feel now that your book's published? And I'm like, I feel exhausted because that's just the beginning.
Right.
The hard part is marketing and PR.
Right.
Okay, so if you are a top author, like the upper echelons of being an author, the top of the top, you will have a big publisher who will have a marketing team that can help you. But for most of us, even at some of the major publishers for not big time authors, we have to do a lot of it ourselves. So a lot of it is reaching out to podcasters, reaching out to influencers, reaching out to media, reaching out to my entire network, asking them, to read the book, to get it for their friends and family, to post reviews on Amazon and on Goodreads,
Right.
And doing speaking engagements and doing everything I can. Every time I go to pickleball, I have these little postcards that my publisher gave me, and someone who's never heard of my book, I hand them the postcard, which tells about my book and has a little QR code to get to it on Amazon. And, wherever I go, I'm always talking about it. That's part of the gig.
Sure.
Yeah, and you've got a background PR, so it's great. Who's the book targeted to? Like, who's your target audience for the book? Is it?
Well, that's a great question. The obvious target would be women that are over 50,
Okay.
right? Especially retirees, because the main characters are retired.
Right.
But I do find that people of all ages love it. And most interestingly, and you might find this interesting, Jeffrey, is my biggest fans are men,
Really?
Older men, younger men?
older men, over 50. And,
Interesting.
I mean,
So it's not going to appeal to me at all because I'm younger.
That's right. Well, this is LA, and no
someday
one's
when
over
you get
40.
to that age, perhaps you'll pick this up.
That's
Right. When I
but
grow
then,
up.
When you grow up, consider this for your reading pleasure. But yeah, I was looking through some of my reviews today, and the most like mind-blowing, amazing, positive reviews, both online and what they've told me in person, are by men. And when I asked them why, I said, this is a book about women and friendship.
Yeah,
Honestly,
that's right.
what is interesting to you? And they're like, you know what? It's really fun. It's really true to life, like you were saying, Rona.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see what it's like when women have friendships, because men don't have these
No,
circles
they
of friends
don't.
normally.
No.
Maybe occasionally, but for them it's kind of interesting. They're like, we wish we had a Merlot club, just like you have a Cabernet club. It would be so fun, but that would never happen. But they can read about it.
Sure. They would have like a beer club or a whiskey club or something like that.
Exactly. And that
Cigar
would be
club.
fun.
Yeah.
But then they have to share their feelings and talk, so that would be tricky.
That's
I don't know.
that's the other thing. Feelings? Men?
Right.
Feelings?
We don't have
Exactly.
He has one.
them. I have one. feeling.
Annoyed. He's annoyed. That's it.
Yep, common.
Margie, real quick, can you move your camera up so we can see it? That's a picture of your mom.
Yeah,
behind
show
you.
us show us Rona.
Yes. Can you see Rona?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
She's
very
like
very
this.
good. Good.
I
So
know. That's
from a
awesome.
few years ago, right here,
Yeah.
pointing to, with one of her birthday parties and a birthday cake. She was so happy and charming and loved celebrations, and that's like our favorite photo of hers.
Okay, you look like
you.
Kilroy, so
Yeah,
back
you
down
gotta
with the
back-
camera.
Yes, sir.
That's
Here
like
we
this.
go.
That is hysterical.
Very good.
Yeah.
So after all, and I'm going to use a Yiddish word, after all the mishigas you went through to get this out, now you're talking about a follow-up. What the heck is wrong with you? So,
I'm obviously insane.
that's right.
We've established that.
Yeah.
But
You should
I
be in
really-
politics.
That's right.
I really should, but I'm not that insane. I have a lot of skeletons in my closet, so that would
That's
be
right.
the
That
other.
would be bad.
Yeah, that would be a deal breaker. But basically, I thought it would be a one and done, right? I did this project and we're co-authors,
Right.
and this was my mom's legacy, blah, blah, blah. But I found that I kept thinking of things that I wanted to talk about. And I really fell in love with the characters.
Nice.
So I started outlining book 2, and I'm done with the outline. I'm now up to chapter 7
Wow.
in book 2.
Wow.
I know what book 3 is going to be too. I have a plan for a
Nice.
3-book series.
Nice.
So yeah, it's just happening.
That's
So
great.
is it going to be like a Cabernet Volume 2, or is it going to be Pinot Noir or something? Are you doing different wines?
You know, if we did that, we'd have to kill you.
That's
But
right.
no, I can't. We have to do Cabernet.
Of course
because
you
it-
do. I was teasing. Of course you
Right?
do.
No, I'm teasing you. But book 3, you will see something, but I can't tell you. It'll be a
Okay, that's
spoiler.
fine. Good, 'cause
But
I'm really looking forward to it.
book 1 is about the journey of Debbie, who's the main character.
Right.
Book 2 is that I'm working on is about the journey of all the 4 Cabernet Club members, which
Oh.
That's
includes
great.
the jury member. And book 3 is a surprise, because if I told you what that was about, it would be too much of a
Right,
spoiler.
right,
Okay.
right.
Oh,
But
awesome,
they're
awesome.
that's all part of it too.
So how do
Yeah.
people get hold of you?
And the book.
In the book. So the best way to do both of those things is to go to my website, which is a little tricky because I had to use my middle initial. So it's margiezfisher.com. So it's MARGIE, the middle initial Z like zebra, and then Fisher, FISHER.com, which tells about the book. It gives a link to where you can buy it on Amazon or other places. And if people want to read one of the scenes that I cut that my mom put in, and I'm still debating whether I should have included or not, it's super funny. But if people sign up for my monthly email, they get that chapter. So
Fun.
it's a little freebie. Yeah. And then they can tell me after they read the book if they think I should have included it. And who knows, maybe that'll make it into
It's
book 2.
interactive. Yeah.
Exactly.
That is very,
That's
very
great.
true. So yeah, and I honestly highly recommend the book. I really, and I'm a voracious reader. So for me to say that is honestly a compliment, because I'm working my way through the library now. So I'm thrilled that I know someone who has such a great book, and I'm so proud and happy to know you, Margie.
Thank you. But can I ask you, for people that don't know about how would you describe the book, or what did you like about it?
I love the fact that it did focus on women over 50, because there's not that much, we are the forgotten demographic. It's like after you're 49, it's like, all right, 18 to 49 and dead. It's
Yes,
like, wait a minute,
exactly.
people are living longer and longer. So, and because, there aren't a lot of movies about our demographic, and we are highly viable, highly active, and
Yeah.
we deserve to have a slice of life, things dedicated to us, because we may be old, we're not dead. I'm still dating. I still enjoy, sex, rock and roll, cigars, well, not cigars. You enjoy cigars. Anyway,
Right.
so yeah, to have this and show that we have the same issues as somebody 2 generations beneath us is fantastic. So I really enjoyed that. And I like the fact that it was a smart book. You didn't dumb it down. So
What do you mean smart?
just, the situations were smart, and the banter. So, and everyone else will have to read it for themselves.
Okay,
And
just
maybe
wanted to hear a little bit, because some people are like, well, I don't know, but yeah, there's something for everyone, pretty much.
Anyway, Margie, this has been so good. Thank you so much for coming on. And anyone who's listening, as you read it, let us know what you think, and let Margie know what you think. So,
Yes,
Congratulations. Sorry about the loss. I know how that is.
yeah.
you
was
appreciate it. Thank
So,
you.
Rona, this is for you as well.
It is.
Anyway, that is it for us. I'm Rona Lewis,
I'm Jeffrey Hansler.
and this has been Biz-Souls. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Biz-Souls podcast with your hosts, Rona Lewis and Jeffrey Hansler. Did you have fun? Subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Talk to you next week.